Hello. Thank you for coming today. I'm sorry, it's a very low light kind of day in here right now. So if you're having trouble seeing me, that's okay because what's on the screen is much more exciting than what's going on in this little box. So welcome to the Arc of New Jersey's presentation of what happens after sex. Here's a little hint. And I am Jennifer Harrison, and I'm the coordinator of the Arc of New Jersey's Sexual Violence Prevention Project. What we aim to do is to educate you about everything you could possibly need to know, not just about sex, but about personal safety and your body and what happens in your body, because knowledge is power. And we know when we know what to look for, we know what to look out for. So let's go over some housekeeping. You will see probably at the bottom of your screen is a chat button. If you have anything you want to say, you have a question, you have a comment, we're also going to play a lot of games. So I'm going to be asking you for your answers. There may be a quiz, but don't worry, it doesn't count. You can just hit that chat button and type your answer right in, and I will address it as soon as I can. So what are we going to learn today? Well, we're just going to go over pregnancy. In another webinar, Reproduction and Contraception, we talked about how to become pregnant, which means how to grow a baby inside of you, or how to create a baby, help create a baby inside someone else. So we're just going to go over that. Then we're going to go over childbirth, which is really just how that baby comes out so it can hang out with us in the world. We'll go over parenting, some things to consider if you're thinking about becoming a parent. We'll also talk about infertility. You'll learn that word. And that just means the inability to create a baby. So if you want to be a parent, there are other things you'll have to do than rely on creating your own baby. Then we'll talk very quickly about alternatives to parenting. Sometimes we create a baby, but we don't necessarily want to be a parent. And there are some things we can do about that or to address that. Then there'll be a final quiz. It doesn't count. It's not graded. It's just for fun. But I hesitate to call a quiz a game. Might be a game. Might be like Trivial Pursuit. And we will play some games besides that. Ooh, she's got a lot of babies. One moment of content information. Today we will be discussing pregnancy, childbirth, parenting, and fertility, and alternatives to parenting, including abortion. To skip infertility and alternatives to parenting sections, along with any other section you want to skip, that's perfectly fine. You can either end the webinar after the parenting section, or you can just fast forward over it. You might even want to watch it without your student or your loved one and just sort of preview what it's like and see if that works for your family. Okay, before we begin, if you have seen any of these webinars, you know I love a word alert. That's when we're going to learn a new word. This one is pregnant. And I've already addressed it, but let's go over it again. When a person is pregnant, they've created a little being that grows into a baby. Now, I said inside their body, but it's really only the body of a person with a vagina. If the person has a penis, then they can help create that baby in a person with a vagina. Pregnancy, so we learned pregnant. What's pregnancy? Well, that's the period of time it takes for that little being to become a full-grown baby. And while we're here, we're going to sneak in one more word. Uh-oh, word alert, one more. And that word is zygote. That's a crazy sounding word, isn't it? There aren't many words that start with Z that we use, but zygote is one of them. What is a zygote? Well, it's that little being that grows into a whole baby. So when pregnancy first happens, it's just with a little zygote. As that zygote grows, it becomes a baby, a full-grown baby. Okay, let's talk about pregnancy. And remember, that's the period of time it takes to grow the baby. Everyone has the right to have a child. Everyone has the right to have a child if you want it, and as long as you're old enough. Now, very quickly, to learn about sex, which is what causes pregnancy, contraception, and reproduction, all of that, you can watch our reproduction and contraception webinar, which is in the archives, or you can read lesson 6 in the home sexuality education curriculum, and that is at VARC SVPP, Sexual Violence Protection Project, Prevention Project, .org. And you can watch this webinar in conjunction with that lesson, or with the what happens after pregnancy lesson, which is lesson 7. Or you can just look at the curriculum, you can just look at this, you can do a little of each, whatever is right for you. Anything you learn is great. Okay, so no matter who you are, if you want to be a parent, you're allowed to. But only people who have a vagina can actually become pregnant. So people with a penis are not going to grow a baby inside of them. Let's talk about how that works. Uh-oh, someone left a handprint on this. Okay, very quickly, we're not going to get into how to become pregnant, which is called sex. You can look into that if you're interested. Very quickly though, a person with a penis and a person with a vagina have sex. To learn about sex, you can watch the webinar or look in the curriculum. But what it means is that the person puts their penis inside the other person's vagina. So the penis goes into the vagina. It releases a liquid. So a liquid comes out. It's called semen. Okay, so that liquid goes into the vagina. And the semen has these little creatures inside of it that you can't even see. And those are called sperm. They look like this, but they don't have a smiley face. That was just to make it look friendly. And that goes in the vagina. So you'll see there's that dotted line going up, up, up. That's the sperm, these little characters, swimming up the vagina. So the person with the vagina has already created these eggs that are waiting inside of them. They're in their ovaries. So see how it's pointing right here to this sac? Those are the eggs. And when you're born with a vagina, you are usually born with 2 ovaries that hold all of these eggs. Those are yours for life. But when an egg is released into the fallopian tube, I wrote this wrong, it's before menstruation. So before you bleed every month, if you want to learn about that, you can look into it. We have all the lessons you need. And that egg sits and waits. So we have the guy here. It actually is up in the tube right there. You see that little tunnel going to it? This is the picture I found. So that's the egg has already been released and it's waiting there, right? Once a month before you menstruate, you release an egg and it waits. When people have sex and the semen with the sperm in it has released into the vagina, it'll swim, swim, swim up. All of those little creatures, those sperm, are racing to get to that one egg that's waiting, right? The first one to reach it, so it's just like a race, wriggles inside of it, and that wins. How does it win? It fertilizes the egg. All that means is it turns that egg and the sperm together, they grow into a zygote. And we just learned that. Remember what a zygote is? That's that little creature that grows into a whole baby. So that's the sperm fertilizing the egg. Pretend he's inside. Now the zygote that's created, right, with the egg and the sperm, it lives inside a part of the body with the vagina called the uterus. That lives sort of just below the belly button, but inside. And it's above the vulva. And it grows into a baby for 9 months. That's how long it takes, 9 months. So a big chunk of a year it takes up growing that baby. It takes a pretty long time, or else it just feels like it takes a pretty long time. But the zygote doesn't immediately turn into a baby, right? Like a walking, talking baby. It goes through stages. Let's figure out those stages. So the person with the penis, the person with the vagina, together, they've had sex, they've created this zygote. Ah, there we go. In the first month, it is the zygote. Can you see way at the bottom? There's this little bloop, that little thing. That is the zygote. Teeny tiny, can't even see it. Up to 10 weeks later, it becomes an embryo. And if you look inside that area, that uterus, right? We see this, doesn't really look like a baby, but it looks like something. Looks like a bean or some kind of little something, but it's growing. That's an embryo. Now, for the rest of the 9 months, from those 10 weeks up until the very last day or minute of those 9 months, that's a fetus. And that fetus is a baby. That fetus has arms and legs and eyes and ears and some hair, has little fingernails. It takes all that time to grow those things. Now, sometimes the fetus does not grow all of these things, and that's okay. Why? Because all of our bodies are different. Just look around. Anytime, look at the person you're watching with. They don't look exactly like you. And that might be, because they have parts you don't, or you have parts that they don't, or you have the same number of parts, they just don't look alike. So that's when it all develops, is when that little thing turns into a fetus. So from 6 months on, okay, so after that first beginning stage, the fetus actually acts like a baby. Now, it doesn't really have a helmet and boxing gloves, but it kicks and it moves around. And my younger child, my younger daughter, actually got the hiccups all the time when she was inside of my uterus. So acted just like a baby, because you know what? She was born and now she's 17 and she still gets the hiccups all the time. Handprint. So you just actually learned a lot. There was a lot of information. Let's play a game so we can try to reinforce what you've learned. Repeat, reinforce. That's how we learn. Repeat over and over and over again. It's why we're archiving this webinar, so you can watch it as many times as you want, refer back to it, and you can also go back to the curriculum and look at that, any of the lessons. Okay. We're playing, what is this called? So this guy, this big guy with the tail, lives in semen, which is a liquid. It is released from a penis into a vagina during sex. It swims to the egg and it fertilizes it. We just talked about it. It's a weird word, so let's see if you can remember. What is this called? You can type it in the chat if you want. One answer. Let's see. Sperm. Did you get it? Maybe the next one. Okay, this is a different question. Who releases the egg? They're born with eggs in both ovaries, right? Is it the person with the penis or the person with the vagina? Which one of them has an egg that they release? Person with the vagina. Absolutely. What does the person with the penis create? Sperm inside their semen. So the penis has the sperm, and the person with the penis has the sperm and the semen. The person with the vagina has the eggs. Look at this little guy right here. He's so cute. Does this look like a zygote? Let's see. Nope, it looks like a baby. So it's been developing inside of there for a while, right? The embryo is, not the embryo, I'm sorry, the zygote is just the first month. It's teeny tiny. This person right here is a fetus, and that is a baby. I put little suns over their penises because they did not consent to my showing their private body parts. So I respected it. But here's a question. Can two people with a penis create a pregnancy? Can they come together and have sex that creates a baby, a zygote that grows into a baby? Right. No, there has to be, if you want to make a baby, there has to be one person with a penis and one person with a vagina. It's the only way to do it. How long does a pregnancy last? I know you know it's a big chunk of the year, but do you know how long that is? This is all the months in the year, their calendars. Let's see, do you remember how long? 9 months. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's a long time. And then for the next 3 months, you enjoy sleeping on your stomach because you can once the baby's out. Okay, here's a good question. How are babies created, right? How does that happen? And here's a hint. It takes 2 people. You can say it to the person next to you if you want, or you can type it in the chat. They have sex. What is that again? The penis goes into the vagina, and the penis releases the semen. Do you remember what's in the semen? The sperm. So when the semen goes into the vagina, the sperm start to swim, and they're swimming up to that egg that's waiting inside well, it's in the fallopian tubes, and it wriggles inside, the first one to get there, and it fertilizes it. That is a zygote. So much to remember. You don't have to worry about remembering. It's just good to understand how all of this works, right? So don't worry about all the words. But if you want to remember them, keep watching over and over, repeat, reinforce. But here's an important point. Sex between someone with a penis and someone with a vagina only. If it's sex with 2 people with a penis or 2 people with a vagina, you are not getting pregnant. So you're good if you don't want to, or not good if you want to. But sex between someone with a penis and someone with a vagina can cause pregnancy, even if it's the first time you do it. Okay? Even if the penis is pulled out of the vagina before the semen is released, some can still come out and it'll still have sperm inside of it. And even if you don't want to get pregnant, if you have sex and there's only the penis in the vagina and it releases that semen, it can cause a pregnancy. Even if your partner tells you it can't. If they say, no, 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 if we don't want it to, it won't happen. Or no, 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 it's our first time. You can't get pregnant. Or no, 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 you are menstruating, you have your period, so you can't get pregnant. None of those are true. Know this, if a penis that is just plain and bare, right, goes into a vagina, pregnancy can happen, no matter how long it lasts. So just remember that, that's important. As if you didn't get it already, I'm going to say it one more time. Anytime you have sex, you risk a pregnancy. And the only way to be no doubt, no risk, 100% without question safe from pregnancy, if you don't want to be pregnant, the only absolutely sure way that you can not get pregnant is to not have sex and to not come in contact with semen if you have a vagina. So if there's semen on your hand, you wash that right off, or else you can come in contact with your vagina, cause a pregnancy. If it's on your leg, you want to wash that off. Do not let it swim inside, okay? Boop. One more side note, to learn about contraception, and that is something you can use if you want to have sex, but you don't want to get pregnant. It's not as 100% sure as abstinence, which is not having sex, right? Or not coming in contact with semen, but it's pretty good. You're pretty safe. So if you want to learn about how to do that, you can learn about it in our reproduction and contraception webinar that's archived, or read lesson 6 in the home sexuality education curriculum at www.VARC, that is Sexual Violence Prevention Project.org. Okay, so now we know how to create a baby, how that baby grows. How does the baby come out once it's been 9 months? Like it's in there. Is there a door? Nope. I'll tell you how. It's called childbirth. Why is it called childbirth? Well, child, because that baby will become a child, right? It's your child. And birth, which means it came out of the parent's uterus, the parent with the vagina. So childbirth. That's why you have a birthday. Get it? It's the day of your birth, the day you came out. And it's there to celebrate the day of your birth. You say, yeah, I made it. One more year. Good times. Let's have cake. Okay, let's talk about childbirth. There are a bunch of stages that I will tell you about, but what it all comes down to is the baby is inside and it makes its way out through the vagina. Okay, we will talk about how that goes now. First, that fetus, that little guy in there, gets into position, right? So his head is there at the opening. You see there's a little opening right here. That's where he's going to come out of, or she, or they. So they get into position. Ooh, don't do that. I just clicked something. The baby's head enters the pelvis. You see how that opening's a little bit bigger? The head is like moving through. Then the baby turns its head and the pelvis gets even bigger. So the baby is facing down now, right? And the pelvis is even wider. Then the baby's head begins to poke out of the vagina. It sounds like, how does that happen? But the body with the vagina knows what to do. The pelvis knows it's supposed to open. You don't have to try. It's going to happen without your trying. Then the baby's head comes out. And the doctor or doula or midwife says, oh, hello, baby. Are you ready to come out? And then the baby's shoulders come out and the whole baby follows. So you have someone sort of guiding it out. But that's how the baby comes out. Now, it can hurt, right? It can be painful, but that goes away. So it hurts for a while, feels like a really bad stomach ache, and you like push, you feel yourself pushing, the baby comes out, and then you feel better. And remember this, I always say this, if it were that painful, if it were that terrible, nobody would have more than one baby, ever, right? They'd say, I am not doing that again. But we do, right? So while it hurts, it does go away. Just on a side note, if the baby cannot, for some reason, come through the vagina, let's say the pelvis isn't opening quickly enough, or maybe you see that cord that is attached to what becomes the belly button. It's why we have a belly button there. It's because the cord was attached. Sometimes that can get you can get stuck in it, the baby. That's okay. The doctor can perform an operation called a C-section. You do not feel that. You don't feel any of the operation. Sort of lying there, they put a curtain down, you don't see it, you don't feel it, but you get a baby out of it. And that's what it looks like. Now let's talk about parenting. Let's see. Yep. Parenting is very, 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 very hard and tiring. You know why? Because that baby wakes up all the time in the middle of the night, crying. It wants to eat. You have to change its diaper, but we all get through it. I remember asking my friend when she had her baby, how do you do it? And she said, I don't know. You find it. You find the strength. Somehow you push through. And it's so wonderful. Oh, handprint. So while it's tiring, it's also a beautiful, special experience if you want to be a parent. And everyone has the right to be a parent. I know I said that before, but I want you to really get that. And anybody can be a great parent. Anybody, no matter who you are. Yeah, they're celebrating. Okay, we just learned about childbirth. Let's play a game. It's a game show. Keep your eye on the woman in the yellow dress, okay? Just once in a while. So here's the question. You don't have to look at the woman in the yellow dress. Is it better to do everything yourself when you're a parent, or to have a community of helpers? So the answer is you can do it by yourself. You can. But the more helpers you have, the better. The better for the parents because you get a break. There are more hands, there are more eyes, there are people to counsel you and give you advice. And it's better for the baby. Why? Because the more love we have around us, the happier we are. So the more people who love you and care about you around you when you're raising a baby, the better. Ooh, what's happening to this woman in the gold dress? Now, should you raise your child by yourself, like this, I'll say she's a mom here, or with a partner, like this family is doing? Anybody want to guess in the chat? There's really no right answer. It's what's right for you, right? But it depends, right? What are your values? Are you, is it okay with you? Does it mean something to you to raise your child or children by yourself? Does it really mean something to you, matter to you to have a partner? And what are your circumstances? If you work, it might be easier to raise a child with a partner. Then again, you can always put the children in daycare, you can have a babysitter or a family member come. Also, you might not have a partner, so you don't want to be with just anyone. But if you do have a partner and that works for you, then great. Now keep your eye on the woman in the yellow dress. Ooh, I think there's something growing in there. Okay. Does having a disability mean I can't be a good parent? What do you think? If you have a disability, does it mean you're not able to be a parent? You can be an excellent parent with a disability. It is not true that you can't be a parent. You can be great. Why? Because you can love. And that's such a huge part of being a parent. And if I have an intellectual or developmental disability, if I have autism or Downs or, Tourette's or Williams syndrome, will my child have it too? It's a really good question. And the answer is having an intellectual or developmental disability does not mean your child will have one too. They could, and some disabilities are inheritable, meaning you can get it from your parent, but not all. And so it could or it couldn't. In either case, that child is going to be so special and so beautiful. It's just another quality that they have or don't have. Look at our girl, and boy, she's ready to have that baby. That's what I'm saying. I think that's a baby, or she's got a sack of potatoes under her dress. Now, will I automatically know what to do when the baby comes? Does a baby come and you're like, oh, let me change its diaper, let me make formula, let me nurse it, let me raise it? Is that how it works? So some things, like how to love them, that's automatic. So many people within the first minute or the first day or over the first few days really grow to love that baby tremendously. But not all things come naturally like that. So what do you have? You have parenting classes. Oops, there was a really fun graphic that I just skipped over. Parenting classes. So these are classes, literally like going to school, that teach you things that you need to know. I took parenting classes. My husband came to the parenting classes. My sister did. It's a good idea, just so you know how to change a diaper, how to, what to do if the baby gets sick, right? So here comes my favorite icon. It's somebody holding their phone up. What does that mean? That means this is a great time to take your phone out if you have a smartphone, and you can scan these QR codes. You see these crazy looking boxes here, 3 squares? Each of these will take you automatically to a website, and that website can tell you about parenting classes and how to be a parent. So if you hold up your phone and you put, say, the top square in the sites, then a link will come up and you just click that and there's the link. You can also take pictures of these 3 and print it out, and then you can scan those barcodes to go to the websites. If you don't have a smartphone or you just don't enjoy scanning, and that's fine, I have these, the URLs, the web addresses right here beneath. Perform Care, Intellectual and Developmental Disability Resources for Families. The middle one is Child Welfare Information Gateway, Services for Parents with Disabilities. And at the bottom, the New Jersey Department of Human Services, New Jersey Resources. These are all wonderful. The websites are underneath. So if you take a picture with your phone, now you have the address and you can just type it in and go to the website. Okay, so we learned how to create a zygote, grow it into a baby, and deliver that baby to go through childbirth. We also know that you can take classes on how to raise that child, because also sometimes, babies can cry a lot and we can get really frustrated, and it helps you figure out what to do when that happens. That's anything from calling someone to say, can you come over, please? Stay with the baby, someone you trust. I need to take 15 minutes or an hour, whatever it is, to just be away from the crying, or to deep breathe, or to exercise, take the baby out in the stroller and get some fresh air, something like that. But now we're going to talk about infertility. Remember the word fertilize? So the sperm fertilizes the egg, right, to create the zygote. Well, infertility means for some reason the sperm does not fertilize the egg. So once in a while, people's bodies cannot create a zygote, whether it's the person with the vagina or the person with the penis. It may be a problem with the egg that was left there, the fallopian tube, or even the uterus, all of these parts. There could be some reason why a zygote is not being created. It may be a problem with the semen or the sperm that comes from the person with the penis. Who knows? Or the couple, the people who had sex and, maybe in love, maybe the couple does not consist of one person with a penis and one person with a vagina. Might be two penises, two vaginas, and they cannot create a baby. There's no way that they can fertilize an egg because you need a sperm from a penis and an egg from the person with the vagina. In any case, if that should happen, parents who want a child and who want to become parents, they need to look into other ways of becoming a parent than creating a baby. And you can do that. You can be a parent even if you can't create a baby and grow one. Now we're going to talk about how. That baby's cheerleading. Yeah, go get me. So, one way is called artificial insemination. I'll talk about this very briefly, but if you look at lesson 6 in the curriculum, we go much more in depth into all of these options. Artificial insemination simply means that a doctor will get the sperm from the semen and will put it into the woman, to the person with the vagina where the egg is waiting. So a doctor sort of helps along the process. They don't actually have sex. There's also called IVF. It's short for in vitro fertilization. What does that mean? That means sometimes, there's a problem producing the eggs. So you go to a doctor and they actually help you produce more eggs. They take out the egg so they have it. Then they fertilize it outside of the body. They get semen to go into it outside of your body and create a zygote. And then they put the zygote back into your body and it can grow there. There's something called surrogacy, where you get a third person, you get another person with a vagina to actually have the baby, right? So let's see, right here I have a couple who's two men, right? Two people with a penis. So they can't create their own baby. So they said, well, let's hire somebody who can carry a baby to carry ours. And they could use that surrogate's egg, right? They produce an egg, take the sperm from one of these people with penises or someone else, and they get pregnant that way. Or they can use another person's egg. So one of these people, say the person with the pink shirt, says, let's take your sister's egg. So the egg of the sister of the guy in the green, and put it into this woman in the dress. So you can do that. So it's a third person. Finally, there's something called adoption. And that is where people or a person can actually get a baby that's already been born, and you go through a legal process, you go to court and you sign papers and you become that person's parent. You become that baby's parent. We're going to talk about why that sometimes happens, how you get the baby, because you can't just pick a baby and adopt it, okay? So now we're going to talk about alternatives to parenting, and you'll see why this comes into play. By alternatives to parenting, I mean when a zygote or a baby has grown, but the person carrying the baby or the person whose sperm helped create the baby, they don't want to be parents. They can find something to do about that zygote or the baby so they don't have to be parents. Because not everyone wants to be a parent, right? Which is absolutely fine. Different things make different people happy. So some people really want to be parents, and some people say, not for me. Very quickly, I'm going to reiterate. To learn about sex, contraception, and reproduction, I'm talking about that because contraception can help you not make a baby if you still want to have sex. You can learn that in our reproduction and contraception webinar in the archives, or you read lesson 6 in the home sexuality education curriculum at the arcsvpp.org. Now, what are alternatives to parenting? Oh, I'm saying it's also your right not to be a parent. And so there are things you can do if you or your partner is pregnant, but they don't want children. Okay? The first one is adoption. Does this word sound familiar? Well, we just talked about if you want to be a parent, right? And you can't create a baby, you can adopt one. Well, where do you get the baby? You get it from someone who has grown a baby who doesn't want to be a parent. So on this hand, you have, oh, I have a baby and I don't want to be a parent. And here you have people saying, I want to be a parent and I don't have a baby. So the person with the baby and the people who want to be parents, or the person, they go to court and they agree. The people who want to be parents will raise that baby. So I just explained this, but I wrote it out. Remember how we said some people become parents by adopting the baby that someone else had? Those people got that baby because the pregnant person put the baby up for adoption and said, I want parents for this baby. Go find me parents, please. And then the people who want to raise a child take it. Now that person who created the baby and grew it, they went through 9 months of pregnancy, okay? They went through childbirth, so the baby came out of them. And then they want to give that baby to someone who can love them and care for them in the best way possible. So people who give a baby up for adoption are doing something good for that baby because they're finding them loving parents. And they're also saying, those parents will do better than I will. So they're doing the right thing for them. Or the new family adopted an older child. So you can actually, let's say baby was born, put up for adoption, and nobody adopted them when they were a baby. So they were in foster care, something like that. They grew up somewhere. You can also adopt an older child. You can say, I want a 4-year-old. I want a 10-year-old. I want a teenager. Everybody needs love, and anyone who wants to be a parent should have the right to do so. Now, there's one other alternative we're going to talk about, and you can choose to switch off now, or you can watch. We're going to very quickly talk about it. Oh, I did this twice. I'm so sorry. Abortion. Some people choose not even to go through with the pregnancy, right? So they've created the zygote and they say, I don't want to grow this baby for 9 months, or I'm not healthy and I can't grow the baby for 9 months because it's not good for me, or that zygote is not healthy and can't grow. There is an operation. It's very simple. It's called an abortion, and that makes the person no longer pregnant. So that zygote goes away. It does not become a full-grown baby, and then there is no long pregnancy. Abortion is not legal everywhere in the country or in the world, but it is legal in New Jersey. So if you're watching from New Jersey, abortion is an option. Some other states, no. So you'd have to look it up if you want or need an abortion. Let's play a game. There's been so much information. You guys are doing great. If you need to pause and get a drink of water or take a walk, do so. We'll be here. Okay, so this is the final quiz. Does everyone have the right to become a parent? No matter who you are or who you love or what you look like or what you can do. Yes, everyone has the right to be a parent. Can anyone be a good parent if they learn what to do? So if you take classes and you're willing to work at it, can you be a good parent? Can anyone be a good parent if they learn? Yes. Look, oh, she learned how to calm her babies down. She learned how to wrap them up in their blanket. And I don't think she learned how to comb their hair because it's looking a little funny, but that's okay. That's not part of being a good parent. If you or your partner gets pregnant, are there other things you can do rather than become parents, right? So the zygote's already in there. Do they now have to raise a baby? I phrased it wrong. Are there other things they can do? Yes. Do they have to raise the baby? No. And do you have the right to decide what is best for you? Yes, you do. Now, it's always good to get more opinions, especially about big issues like whether or not to become a parent, even whether or not to have sex. So, to have trusted adults around, whether it's a caregiver or a member of the clergy or a teacher you really trust, or a coach who's been really good to you, or a friend, a really smart friend. It's always good to get their advice. So sometimes we need a little guidance. And when it comes to these huge decisions, that's the best way to go. So, yes, you have the right to decide what's right for you. But we suggest that everybody get a couple more opinions. Okay. Sometimes people see what we don't. And that's that. I am glad it didn't take 9 months to watch this webinar. See how I'm referencing 9 months? That's how long it takes to make a baby. To watch again, adopt the method of looking through our archives. And you can please feel free to contact me. I put text, it's not a text, it's an email. So just email me at jharrison@arcnj.org. You can also take a picture of that email address right now so you don't forget it. Or you can rewatch any of these webinars or just fast forward to this last part and you can always get my email address if you want it and send questions or comments or anything like that. Oh, they all think they're pregnant too because their bellies are big, but I blame that cheese. All right, thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure, and please feel free to get in touch with me at any time.